Reddit posted by usual buddy. Which conspiracy theory do you believe is true? The line on the laundry detergent measuring cup is higher than it needs to be. The original nuclear tests in the US Southwest were done to also test the effects of radiation on human populations. That most if not all countries have done experiments on humans against their will. Governments spread wild and crazy conspiracy theories to discredit conspiracy theorists and make them look like lunatics. That way, when someone actually finds a real conspiracy, people will just go, "Oh, it's one of those crazy guys." I've always thought that competition reality shows purposefully send someone home each season that deserves to stay, so that people get mad and talk about it online and get other people interested in watching the show. It came to mind that women's makeup are actually secretly damaging their skin, so when they see it, they'd be convinced to buy more makeup. That hot dog manufacturers have a secret agreement with the bun companies to produce different amounts of each product. I don't know the numbers exactly, but for example, you need dogs for a cookout, so you buy some, and the only available package size is 8 hot dogs. Then, you go and get some buns which only come in packs of 12. Therefore, once you cook your 8 hot dogs, you still have leftover buns, which means you will buy more hot dogs to use those buns, and you will then have to buy more buns to use those hot dogs that were bought to finish the original buns. The cycle continues. Mattress firm is a front for folks to launder money through. The amount of them in my town is absurd. There is like 3 within a mile stretch. 2 of them are across the street from each other. I am not being it. Just like people aren't regularly buying mattresses. They intentionally put tiny pockets in women's clothing to sell purses and bags. The reason Disney came out with a movie called Frozen was so that when you Google Disney Frozen, you would get information about the movie and not websites talking about Walt Disney's body being frozen. That Beyoncé is actually 10 plus years older than she says she is, and Solange isn't her sister, she's her daughter, and it was hidden to help Beyoncé's career. Gabrielle Union has stated before she and Beyoncé were friends and the same age. Gabrielle Union is 47. Beyoncé is stated as being 38 currently. That Coca-Cola came out with new Coke in order to change the original formula to corn syrup from real sugar without people complaining about the subtle difference. All the UFO sightings throughout history are just humans from the future on a time-traveling safari meant to observe how we were in the past. They are supposed to keep out of sight, but thanks to human mechanical errors, there have been hiccups with their cloaking which have resulted in being seen. That's why there have always been so many reports of them throughout history, but there has never been an attack. It's just us. We live in a simulation, however, the code is constantly being upgraded. In older times, there were plenty of bugs that were easy to exploit if you knew where to look. Thus things like miracles and magic were basically hackers doing what they do. Okay, I don't really believe this is true. I just like it. That Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord and he was supposed to be in Count Dooku's place. Elon broke the Cybertruck windows on purpose to get more memes out of it. You might call me a weirdo, but I am starting to believe that there was some pretty advanced civilization thousands of years before us. For example, there is a huge stone wall complex that's said to have been built by the Incas. The thing fits together like Legos. Literally. You can stuff a blade between the rocks. The complex is built in a way that it can withstand earthquakes of really high magnitudes, and one of the biggest rocks in the structure is so heavy most modern cranes couldn't lift it. Check it out and tell me your opinion. I might be wrong. Software updates that intentionally slow down your computer or device so you are forced to upgrade. That your phone's microphone is constantly hot and it is listening for keywords to target advertising. Most glaring instance where this happened to me was when I walked into a colleague's office. He had just gotten a standing desk, but one that goes on top of his existing desk rather than a standalone model. That's important to note. I said, "Nice standing desk, when did you get that?" "Thanks, just today." He replied. That was literally all that was said about the desk. We talked about work-related stuff, and as I walked out and checked my phone, there was an ad on Facebook for that exact model of standing desk. We have proof or have encountered intelligent life outside of Earth, but our governments are hiding this info from the public because they think the public can't handle the truth. A few months ago a nasty cold went around the area that I live in, and my mom thinks it was a precursor to COVID-19, so those who caught that cold are therefore immune to COVID. Stevie Wonder is not blind. He is cross-eyed and said he was blind wore the glasses because he thought having a physical appearance disability would hurt his career. Look it up. There's footage of him catching things that are falling, and there are tons of stories from other celebrities that know him about how he's really not blind. I know it's insane and untrue, but I really want to believe that the elite people worship demons and sell their souls, and that's how they stay the elite. It's my favorite conspiracy theory. I could read about it all day. Pretty sure I saw it here on Reddit at one point. But someone brought up the art trade. That these million-dollar art shows individual pieces that go for insanely high prices are just a way for money laundering. Trader Joe's makes their parking lot small intentionally to make it seem like it's more popular. Some torture devices such as the Iron Maiden were made up hundreds of years later so people would think, well, a regular hanging ain't too bad then. With all the scientists in the world, there has to be at least one secret lab on this planet where they have cloned a human. McDonald's shake machines are never actually down, the night crew people are just too lazy to clean it. Google Maps only asks you for feedback on its navigation when it knows it did a good job. I use navigation all the time, and I find that when it gets me to the destination on time or earlier than predicted, I get a notification asking to rate the trip. But if it gets me there after it originally estimated, I never get that notification. In Argentina, a couple of years ago a lawyer called Alberto Nisman had evidence to put the president, at that time Cristina Fernandez, she was, and is incredibly corrupt, in jail. They were about to go to court, and surprisingly the night before Nisman supposedly committed suicide. I heard a theory about Courtney Love murdering Kurt Cobain. I don't remember what the proof was though. The Men in Black are most likely real, and the movies were just a way of influencing us into thinking that it was just like a science fiction concept and totally unrealistic, but it's actually real. Wouldn't it make sense though? Van Gogh didn't kill himself. There were just too many inconsistencies. Where did his art supplies that he had with him go? Where was the gun he shot himself with? It was a murder. This guy who would bully him always had a gun on him, and after Van Gogh's death his gun was suddenly gone. This guy was Van Gogh's friend though, so Van Gogh never told anyone who killed him before his death. Plus there was no way he could have shot himself at that angle. Bob Lazar essentially concocted the whole flying saucer story to keep himself out of jail. He also deliberately muddies the waters about his past so people don't become too far invested in his story, but he becomes high profile enough that it becomes too much of a headache to prosecute him, especially when the stuff he's saying helps to obfuscate the truth anyway. Simpsons can see into the future. The Federal Reserve is a private organization and the World Bank is controlling the currency of many nations. IRS is a private company and we are paying taxes to a private corporation and not the government. that insurance companies has every bit of interest to have both driver at fault so that they can both raise their premium and they both be liable for damages. The NFL manipulates its games just enough in order to get the best product out of their season because they are a business with billions of dollars on the line. There was a conspiracy theory that the moon was actually hollow on the inside, based on some measurements done on the moon. I think it has something to do with sound. This led to the idea that the moon isn't a completely natural object, but had been placed there by aliens. Other versions of this theory even make it sound like the moon is secretly some kind of Death Star. I know it isn't true, but it's just fun to think about.